All right, good evening to everybody. Happy New Year to the ones I have not seen. Welcome to the first quarter 2024 Chiefs Forum. I hope to bring to you some new information to update you on some of our previous information. And then obviously at the end, we will get to a question and answer period. So to begin 2023, I selected some goals for the police department, and together with the officers, command staff, we tried very hard to accomplish these goals. One of which was to increase our traffic stops within the city by 50%. It wasn't necessarily for enforcement, some of it was for education, but more so for visibility within the city. The more opportunities that our officers have to turn on their lights, the more that they're seen. That's generally how people recognize the police within their neighborhoods and communities when there's a traffic stop on the side of a road or if the car is driving through your neighborhood. So that's one of the things that we wanted to do. We also wanted to work towards decreasing the crime within the city, violent crime by 17%. We wanted to have a 15% reduction in property crimes, a 30% reduction in officer productivity, things such as, again, foot patrols, director patrols, traffic stops, arrest, community engagement. We wanted to increase our footprint within the community. And again, finally, the last part, we wanted to have a 25% increase in community engagement. So for 2023, we actually had a 50% increase, 30% increase. Our goal was 50%. We had a 30% increase in our traffic stops. For 2022, we went from 4,022 to 2023, we went to 5,263. And again, this was an effort by mainly our patrol units that frequently respond to our calls for service. And so this is in between them going into your businesses, responding to the calls, and just generally working the street, in addition to assistance from our specialized units and even from our administrative units to include command. The goal was to have a 30% increase in productivity. We actually ended up with a 34% increase in productivity. So this was one of the goals that we actually met. As you can see, our foot patrols increased from just above 1,200 to over 3,000. And again, these are opportunities for our officers to get out and be seen walking your neighborhoods, walking High Street, walking around the city and being seen. Some of the old things that people are used to, patrolling on foot. And then directed patrols. We had a significant increase in directed patrols. And these are poignant patrols where they're selected locations where an officer will go identify, whether it be something that we as the police department identify, or one of you who may be gone for the weekend and you want the police department to come by and check on your resident or your business or anything of that nature. Those things all fall under the directed patrols. And we actually had, again, 34% overall increase. For our community engagement, you'll look and see we asked for a 25% increase in our community engagement. We actually had a 75% increase. And so those are the things like Coffee with a Cop, our National Night Out, our PAL Camp, things that we do. But in addition to that, attending civic leagues, having officers just be more visible and making those connections within the community with you all. And we actually did a very good job. And one of the things I wanted to point out is obviously we're dealing with, there's no secret, we're dealing with a staffing shortage. And so we wanted to highlight what the numbers look like for 2022 versus 2023. In 2022, we were at 164 officers. During that time in June of 2022, we went to a low of 158. So to keep in perspective, our total allotment of police officers right now is 253. So we are already doing quite a bit with less. Now, I don't say that for anybody to think in terms we want to stay, that, hey, y'all are already doing it, so you don't need any more officers. We absolutely need more police officers because, again, they help us. You see it in your response times. You see it in your calls back from when you've been a victim of a crime because we don't have a detective assigned to a particular unit. Our traffic unit is understaffed. I know in council it came up last week about our enforcement of highway vehicles, heavy vehicles and things of that nature. Again, these are all the units that generally suffer because you have to fill the units that answer your calls for service. So I definitely want to give the police officers that are here, the ones that may be watching, I want to thank you all for your efforts that you've done to get us to this point and helping to reduce and make some of our goals. And obviously I've made goals along with the command for 2024, which we'll go over at the end. And no, I did not forget about the crime. We're going to dive into that as well. So to go back over our fourth quarter numbers for 2023 as we compare it to 2022. In that last quarter of 2023, we realized a 28% reduction in crime within that 3-month period. And again, that's efforts not only of the officers, but also of the community being engaged, seeing something, saying something, calling when things happen in the neighborhood, also intervening in some of those major incidents that we know happen frequently within the community. And those things are actually been a huge benefit into getting us into this point with that reduction on that quarter. Now, our numbers overall for last year, one of the things that I need to kind of highlight for you is our uniform crime reporting stat. So in total, 2023, we had 43 homicides. You'll look, we have 2 categories. By crime standards, we either have to count incidents or victims. So if it's a person who's a victim of a homicide or a rape, we count victims. For a person it's a robbery or a property crime, we count incidents. And again, those are the standards. So think in terms of if you went into a 7-Eleven and that place ended up being robbed, it's counted as one incident, even though it might have been 20 people in there. Imagine if you counted all 20 people, your numbers would be totally through the roof. So they're counted as one incident. So if you count all homicides that we had from 2022 versus 2023, we had almost a 17% reduction in homicides. Now, one thing also to note is homicides that are determined to be justifiable homicides by law enforcement are not counted against us in numbers, whether that be an officer-involved shooting or whether that be a citizen defending himself or herself from a violent crime. Those things, upon investigation, if we determine it to be a justifiable defense, then those numbers are not counted against you, even though it's still a loss of life. So I hope everybody understands that. So overall, for violent crime, we're just over 2.5% reduction in violent crime. Again, not the numbers what we were looking for, but it is a start. And so we're going to take every reduction that we can get. As we look at our property crimes, we also had a reduction in our property crimes of just over 6%. But one of the things I very much need to point out is that you'll look at what really drove our numbers for this is our motor vehicle thefts. We had 716 motor vehicle thefts that were reported in the city, and we recovered 694 stolen vehicles. And that's not just Portsmouth vehicles that have been stolen. Those are vehicles that came from the beach, that came from Hampton or other jurisdictions, other states. 694 stolen vehicles were recovered in our city. And so you'll look at almost a 70% increase in crime. And if we were able to just keep that where it was, we would have been at a 13% reduction in our property crimes. So again, I have to highlight to individuals, please lock your doors. Please don't leave items in your car, such as key fobs and things of that nature. I know that there's other technology that is out there, and I'm not going to highlight it, but I'll just ask you to read up on information to kind of safeguard yourself. There's been instances, I know it's cold, folks want to warm their vehicles up. Please don't do that. You know, unless you have an ability to lock your car, don't make yourself a target or a victim. This is a repeat, I apologize. So that concludes our conversation on our crime stats. Now, I know this was done at council as a presentation. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this because this continues to be a topic for individuals. I'm sure someone here may have a question or two which we'll take at the end. But speed zone cameras. Speed zone cameras are here. They are right now they are at 7 locations with probably a few more to be added based on some conversation that was had at City Council and citizens' comments. So we're going to be looking at adding additional cameras, but also trying to ensure that we look at those small areas where a person may turn onto a street and somehow not know that Norcom High School has been there for the last 15 years. But we're going to make sure we do our part to warn you. And so one of the things that we are doing, in particular, if you're coming off of out of West Parkview and you're turning, one of the first things that we're going to do is we're going to put the times to ensure that you know when you turn onto that. If Norcom starts school at 7:10, then from 6:40 until 7:10, those lights are running. Okay, and then when they get out of school at 2:10, from 2:10 until 2:40, those speed zone cameras are running. Now, that's 30 minutes during the morning, 30 minutes in the afternoon. Our first week of doing the test of this, we yielded almost 6,000 incidents across the city of violators within an hour time frame. We're not talking about running all day. Within an hour time days, for 5 days, we had almost 6,000 violations. I know that's a surprise, but again, think in terms of this. That means people are really speeding. All right, fast forward. Right now, we're just above 2,000, which means some people have gotten a message, either through receiving a warning or receiving one of the citations or hearing it from a friend, media, whatever the case may be. The goal here is to get people to slow down. And the easiest way to avoid getting a speed zone camera violation is not to speed. That's the easiest way. So in addition to that, we started out, and I believe Sergeant Blankenship told me a little bit earlier that we are initially started with 10 school buses. I think we're now going to be expanding to 86 school buses. So if you run a stop school bus that had its arm extended, that's an automatic fine of $250. Okay? And I don't think many people are going to have much sympathy for you while a big yellow school bus is stopped and kids are exiting and you run that that arm, okay? So understand that that is coming. And lastly, we're in the process of doing speed studies for our intersections that are most prone to accidents. And, I know we think we know where they are, but the speed study and the crash study helps us actually put facts and data to be able to say this is where it should be. I don't know if you know, but there is legislation right now before the General Assembly, and have no idea whether it will pass or not, but to expand that for localities to be able to put speed zone in areas that they deem to be high violations, like West Norfolk or other sections of London or High Street or whatever you want to call it. We get quite a bit of calls from you or from your neighbors talking about people speeding up and down the street, disregarding the sign. And again, I don't know what side of that you are on, but we really need our citizens to slow down. Portsmouth United. I'll spend just a little bit of time on this. Portsmouth United is a comprehensive community-based approach that we're undertaking as a city to address gun violence, okay? This is not the police department pushing you an agenda, telling you what to do. This is an opportunity for us as citizens and other stakeholders, whether it be businesses, whether it be nonprofits, other departments, to all come together, understand what the problem is, and to be able to address those things collaboratively as we try to deal with gun violence. So this is going to be my hopes of a true partnership that we all can work together. The goal here is for us as a police department to arm the citizens with information about not only what's going on in your community on a weekly basis. If we had a shooting, if we have a robbery, we're going to, and obviously if it's crime sensitive, meaning it could jeopardize an investigation, then we won't share that. But if we know it's one group of young fellas that live on a particular street versus somebody else, somebody in this room or someone else may actually have some familiarity with them and maybe can interject before something becomes a little bit larger. And then that's all a part of the initiative that is going on. So one of the things that we're modeling this after, and this is not anything that's relatively new. There are other communities across the country who are doing these community-based violence intervention initiatives. But one of the communities that has had a lot of success is out in Omaha, Nebraska, and they have a project called Omaha 360. One of the things I thought was very interesting was they have done quite a bit, and let me preface this. This is not going to happen overnight, okay? Everybody needs to understand, when you come into this, we're asking folks to put aside egos and bust out of their silos, all right? I understand you're used to working with this group over here, and I understand we're asking you to come in and for us to together tackle these issues, and so that we all understand what everybody's doing. If a particular person has a after-school program, it's important for everybody that's involved to know who has what resources, so that when we run into these problems, we know where to be able to send people to for additional help. But back to Omaha 360 in Omaha, Nebraska. So at their festivals, one of the things that they do that I thought was very interesting, in talking to their chief, they have quite a bit of success. So think in terms of Seawall Festival or Harbor Fest or something big, or Umoja Festival that we have downtown. Well, one of the things that they do is they actually have volunteers that come out, and they're not working for the police department or anything. They're just volunteers, but they are basically chaperones for the crowd, if that makes sense. They're not, hey, they're not telling people to pull stuff out or anything. They're just being good citizens and looking for things, and if they see something that's worthy of involving the police, they'll do it in a way that doesn't put them in jeopardy. But one of the things that the chief highlighted is generally between at some of their larger events is that at the end, they generally will end up with about 200 arrests, which is a significant amount of time because now you got officers coming in, they're saying, hey, you need to leave, people are intoxicated, the uniform is a barrier, things of that nature, and it's just a mess. But with their initiative of having what they called chaperones, block captains, the block captains, when it was over, they would say, hey, it's time to go. Well, guess what the vast majority of people do? They leave. So that 200 arrests went down to 50 because and then those 50 are now the police's responsibility, and most of them will leave once the first wave of officers come through and say, okay, it's time to go. But out of that 50, you may end up with 25 arrests who may be too intoxicated to leave or who decide that they didn't want to obey what was going on. But again, that's the true essence of the community engaging with law enforcement and with the city to be able to keep some of those incidents that can sometimes escalate into things that are unnecessary. And that's part of one of the things that we want to look at doing here in Portsmouth through Portsmouth United, for us to look at ways how we can partner together to address some of the things. You think in terms of if you ever come downtown to the farmers market, most of those people who are out there helping folks across the street, just watching traffic, they're volunteers. And knock on wood, if you come down, you will enjoy yourself. If you come down and see, you will be amazed at just the level of neighborly love that's being shown downtown. That's what Portsmouth can be. And so I'm hoping that folks will engage in this. We are actually having a meeting here next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. All are invited. And part of this initiative is going to be part of our grant that we just received through the state. And through that grant, we were given some mandates. And some of those mandates were that we had to support nonprofits. So if you are a nonprofit that has their paperwork straight, if you are a nonprofit, then we want to partner with you to be able to work on some of the initiatives that you have. Again, if you are dealing with after-school programs, if you have a mentorship program, and we're going to be providing some mini grants and things of that nature. But one of the other things that's going to be real helpful to us is we're doing a police department victim witness stabilization program, part of that. So we're going to be offering and assisting citizens who are victims of violent crime with funding for situations that happen. Now, this is not a situation where we're saying, hey, if you're a victim of a robbery or a homicide and you need assistance with relocating yourself, there's funding to assist you with that. And so that's part of one of the things that we're going to do with that funding. But you'll see another one is a thing called Operation Safe Portal, where we're going to be working with volunteers who, you know what, I don't have anything to do in the morning. I don't mind getting up and just going and sitting at an intersection where kids get on the bus and just being a monitor to make sure they get on the bus safe and they get off the bus safe, to and from home. And that's part of Operation Safe Portal. It's all of us getting engaged as being good citizens and helping out the community. All right? We'll talk about this a lot more next week. And I hope to do a formal presentation before council. Yes, sir.
Chief says Wednesday the 13th. Wednesday is the 14th. So is it Tuesday the 13th?
It should be Tuesday, yes. Okay, yep, Tuesday. We'll have that corrected. All right, so real quick, we'll go over some of the departmental goals. And I know it's kind of small, but I'll hit the highlights for you. So obviously we want to continue along with our community engagement. Part of our job here is ensuring that we get our legitimacy as a police department from the citizens. When you recognize your officers of being fair and just, you allow them to police you in your community. It is those times when you feel like it is unjust when we generally have issues. And so we're going to continue to work on and build our trust within the community. We're going to continue to look for ways to support you and partner with you. And that's one of the first things. And these are not in any particular order. They are just goals that we have for the organization. We're also going to be rolling out or try to roll out this year a program through the police research forum that's called ICAT. It is a de-escalation program that they have. And again, making sure that we're arming our police officers with the latest tools and knowledge to be able to hopefully de-escalate situations that may arise. We're going to reaffirm our commitment to procedural justice. And procedural justice, just in a nutshell, is making sure that we are treating people fairly, externally and internally, making sure that we're having fair promotional processes and transfer processes, discipline, but also making sure that our officers are treating the individuals as they are supposed to be treated, as they might want to be treated. Again, our goal is to make sure that we get Portsmouth United off the ground. Here's a huge one for me. In 2024, we're supposed to have our first mock assessment for our accreditation with the goal of getting accredited in 2025. So we're moving along towards that, and we're to have a mock assessment in a few months. Improve officer wellness, and that to not only mitigate stress, but also work on their mental health. A officer who is solid in their mental health, who is solid as best they can be in their home life, in their personal finances, things of that nature, when they interact with you, because believe it or not, these uniforms don't absolve you from your own personal problems. And so when they come and deal with you and whatever issue that they might have, we want to make sure that we're putting solid police officers out there to be able to help address you with your issues and address them with their issues. So we're working on continuing to expand our wellness program that we've already started on. We're also going to expand our flock technology to include additional license plate readers and expand our gunshot detection, hopefully another 3 square miles. Our goal for the department is to decrease crime by 15%. And we plan on doing that through intelligence-led policing, again, proactive community partnerships, and paying a special paid attention to larcenies from business and prosecution of repeat offenders. I know many folks have seen the video that went viral of the gentleman walking out of the ABC store clacking. You know, it's unfortunate, but you know, now several of our ABC stores have now, or soon to be, turn into counter stores. And so it's unfortunate because it does affect the experience of the customer to be able to walk in and get what you want. Now you have to ask, so you'd have to know what you're looking for when you go there. But overall, it does improve their business, and it limits liability on their aspect. So it's unfortunate, but those are some of the things that businesses are having to do to minimize their loss. Our plan is to reduce our manpower deficit by 50%. We're hoping to hire at least another 40 to 50 police officers this year. We did just send 20 to the academy on Monday. We have another 8 or 9 in the pike that we hope to hire within the next few weeks. Unfortunately, won't be able to go to the academy until probably July, but we'll hire them and find something to do until we can get them there. But I will ask you, if you know anybody looking for a job, you think they would be a good police officer, don't send them anywhere else. They need to be a police officer right here in this city. We are really making some strides and improving this organization. And we are looking for good people to help us take us to the next level. CIT training. My goal right now, I think we're just above 30% of all of our patrol staff being CIT trained, and that's crisis interventions training in dealing with mentally challenged and informed. We want to make sure we're trying to get to 45% this year, with the goal of having everybody that's in patrol trained on how to respond to crisis intervention. But this is part of, we're also rolling out our Marcus Alert, which should be fully implemented in July. We're just now starting the soft opening. And again, Marcus Alert, there's quite a bit of information that's out there. Marcus Alert is not like Ashanti Alert. It's not like the Cody Alert. They haven't gotten that far, y'all. It's not like the Amber Alert, the Silver Alert, or any of those. It is a response. Marcus Alert is a 4-tiered response, the first being the 988 suicide call if a person is thinking of harming themselves. The second tier is a response by a medic and a clinician to assist a person in dealing with mental health episode. The third response would be a clinician, a medic, and a police officer who would be standing off in the back, there for being present but not present. And the fourth response would be the police officer responding first, stabilizing the situation, and then allowing the clinicians to come in along with the medic and address the mental health person that's dealing with it. So this is a state mandate that is being mandated by 2028. Obviously, we are ahead of the curve. We are behind some of our other localities, but we do have a few that we're actually test locations, so we're actually doing pretty well. Last two, we're identifying nuisance location and dilapidated properties and expanding our code enforcement team. One of the things we've focused highly on is illegal dumping. You'll see that a lot of our illegal dumping sites, we've put temporary cameras there, and I can tell you we've successfully caught at least 2 individuals who we've been able to identify utilizing some of the technology. I won't go into it deep, but some of the technology that we have brought to the city. They are in the process of receiving summons along with a hefty $2,500 fine. And one of the things that was that kind of angered me more than anything is one of the individuals that we caught lived in Suffolk. And the last one is increasing visibility throughout, through traffic stops, increasing arrest, and things of that nature. And I know to some that sounds bad, but I want y'all to remind you, we are the police. That's what we do. You know, it's part of why we want to really focus on Portsmouth United. We want to allow the folks who are professionals at mentoring, who are professionals at mental health, and professionals at dealing with some of the other social issues, to remove those folks who have challenges, who may, if we can support them beforehand, maybe they won't end up in crime. But those individuals who are committed to doing crime, we're committed to arresting them. And I don't want to mix that with anybody. I hope I don't have to overly explain that to anybody, but that's our job. That's what we're going to do, put people in jail, okay? All right. Well, again, I thank everybody for coming. I appreciate your time. So please pay attention to the city's website, Facebook. We will put out a change. Thank you for bringing that up, Ms. Pam. We will put out a change to update that we most likely do need to move it so that we can make sure we get max participation. All right? Thank y'all.